Ageism, age discrimination, it's a tough reality. Many recruiters, hiring managers have very outdated, unrealistic, and completely unfair expectations and preconceived ideas. There are some strategies you can employ to overcome ageism and age discrimination in the application process. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. So yes, age discrimination most definitely does exist all the way through the job application process, from recruiters reading resumes to interviewing. It's there. It's a tough reality. It exists, and in this video, I'm not going to talk about how we can eliminate age discrimination in the hiring process, but more some of the tools or strategies you can employ to kind of position yourself differently to eliminate any false or erroneous beliefs that the hiring manager has. So looking at some of the numbers as to how much age discrimination is out there, I looked at some recent surveys. Now, just watching videos here on YouTube, there's a lot of content, a lot of content creators who are talking about their experiences in applying for jobs and the discrimination that they've encountered. So it's not, it's and from my experience working with HR departments in very established firms, from working with recruiters in staffing agencies, 100% age discrimination exists. Some of the formal or some of the documented reasons why hiring managers, and this is at the Fortune 500 company level, discriminate against employees or applicants of a certain age. 27% believe that the applicant is too close to retirement age and there's not much lifetime value in that employee to justify the cost of training. 23% will believe that the salary expectations are going to be way too high, and there won't be a fit between what you're looking for and what they're offering. 22% believe that there are greater health and safety concerns. Older workers are more likely to get sick, to potentially get injured on the job, and might be a greater burden on the medical benefits package. And 21% voiced concerns about older applicants and older employees learning new skills. Now, I can state explicitly that none of these are actually valid. I recruited and hired, working for myself through my contingent staffing division, absolutely thousands of employees, and I recruited employees for clients. There's no simple answer as to what skills somebody can learn, what skill sets they have. Age has absolutely no bearing on an ability to learn. Age has no ability, or no impact rather, on whether or not an employee will get sick. I had people working for me in very physical roles who are much more seasoned, in their 60s, mid 60s, working in very physical environments, who had no problems whatsoever. I had people in their early 20s who one day on the job suddenly became a workers' compensation case. So age in those cases had absolutely nothing to do with the ability to do the job or an ability to learn new things. Now, when it comes to close to retirement age, that's a completely outdated way of thinking. There is absolutely no sense that a younger employee will stay any longer than an older employee will. In fact, what I notice is that a lot of older employees, a lot of older applicants, tended to stay in the job a lot longer than the younger applicants and the younger employees. The younger employees were always looking for the next new thing, whereas an older employee, they were looking to establish themselves for perhaps the next 5-10 years. So again, age had no bearing there. So, if any recruiters are watching this and examine whether or not age discrimination plays a part in your decision making process, and look at everything case by case. Look at the numbers. Who is having the greater injury levels? Who is, where is your turnover greatly represented? I think you'll be very surprised by the answers. If you're looking to apply to a new job and you're concerned that your resume, your CV is perhaps hindering you, you're concerned that it is dating you somewhat, there are a few things you can do to kind of get around this. The very first thing is to not put any dates on. Don't put any graduation dates. So, I mean, people will kind of reverse engineer the numbers. If you show that you graduated university in 1980, they'll say, okay, maybe you were 2022. They'll look back and say, okay, born in 1960. So leave graduation dates off of the resume. And I see younger employees doing this. I see applicants doing this. I see older applicants doing this. There is a possibility that leaving a date off might let them believe that you're trying to hide the date at which you graduated. But it's more and more common to see graduation dates not being included. So if you're concerned that adding your graduation date will reveal your age or point to your age, just leave it off completely. How much work history should you show on your resume? Do you want to go back 20, 25 years? I recently worked with a client whose resume actually went all the way back to 1979, and that's a little bit too lengthy. For every employee, for most in fact, I recommend that you only show in detail the last, say, 12, 14 years. It's the position you're in now that will mostly interest the reader, and will be seen as an indication of where you're going in the future. So focus mostly on the last, say maximum 15 years. Now, let's say 15 years ago, you were a senior manager. It's unlikely that you graduated school and started working as a senior manager. You can show earlier career progression. So you can just bullet point under earlier roles, your previous company job title, leave off the dates. So just have a section that indicates previous career history. Just list the companies and your titles without giving the dates. Focus mostly on the last 14 years. Another concern is whether or not an older applicant will be able to learn new skills. Now, as I mentioned, age really has nothing to do with that. But showing technical skills can be a way to show that you are very current and that you are indeed able to learn new technologies, new systems. If you're putting on a resume that you're really good with WordPerfect and Harvard graphics, that's going to really show age. So try to stay as current as you possibly can with technology. Learn ChatGPT and put that on your resume. Power BI, Tableau, anything that you find that companies are using. Now, if you're unsure what they could be, look at job descriptions that interest you, and see what are the technical skills that are required. And if it mentions something like Power BI, Tableau, Microsoft Teams, and you don't understand those systems, you have never worked with them, check out Udemy. Udemy has a ton of very inexpensive courses you can take, very short courses that will let you develop a quick understanding of those platforms. So include those on your resume. Showing very current technology will, in a way, help the reader overcome the idea that you can't learn new skills. Now, it was common, say 20, 25 years ago, to include a lot of personal information on a resume. Leave off all personal details. Don't include anything about family. I really don't think there's much value unless you're very entry level in including details on your hobbies. But leave out anything personal. Don't include your street address. Just include your city, state, province. If you're in the UK, London, UK. Don't give your street address. There's some other issues which I'll discuss in another video about that. But leave out anything personal. Adding too many personal details might again point to a certain age. Now, hopefully that will help dispel any concerns they have regarding age. Now, what happens when you get into an interview? there are certain signs you can watch for in an interview where the recruiter or the interviewer might be probing as to how old you are. Um, a good recruiter, one who is experienced and understands the law, basically, and human rights legislation, won't be asking you any pointed questions. I have seen some very inexperienced recruiters ask really what are inappropriate questions, such as, about children's age, do you have grandchildren? Um, but the subtle signs to watch out for is when the recruiter is talking about this is a high energy position, this is a very dynamic, fluid environment. We're looking for people with very high energy, a lot of motivation. When they start using terminology like that, they're trying to express that this is a job in their mind for a younger person. And again, from my experience, that means absolutely nothing. Um, should they start going in that direction, just reel things back in a little bit, focus on the value that you bring, focus on the experience you can share, the knowledge that you can share with others to help them develop, and ultimately which will help the company. So if you do get a sense that they're trying to move the conversation towards your age or your age being a concern, twist it around very quickly to something very positive. Focus on something that the company is doing, how you have experience in that field, and how you can add value to them. Personally, I think that any company that is discriminating against an employee because of age is a company that not only are they very short-sighted, they're doing themselves a huge disservice. I don't want to get into the issues with different generations of employees and some of the concerns that I'm hearing a lot of companies talking about when it comes to younger employees. You know, I know from personal experience that a more seasoned employee brings an incredible amount of value to the table in terms of experience, work ethic, dedication, and quite frankly, the commitment to the company and how long they'll be staying. I've hired people who were in their 60s. I hired a grandmother once to work in a shipping department. I'll be honest, there were some concerns. It was very physical and not a job I'd want to do. But she wanted the job. She had bills to pay, and so we offered her a position working in a shipping department in an incredibly high volume distribution center. Within about 6 months, she was one of their head trainers. She was absolutely phenomenal. Age has nothing to do with whether or not somebody can succeed on a job. It's mostly up in here. If you put your mind to it, you can do it. Drive the mind, the body will follow. They told us in the army, and it's true. It's mostly mental. If you go in with the right mindset, you can do the job. Now, don't let your age hold you back from applying. Just be very sensitive to the message that you're conveying in your resume, not so much because it's a bad message, but because how the reader might perceive it. Leave off dates, show that your prowess with technology, show you're willing to learn. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did get some value from it, I'd really appreciate the thumbs up and subscribing. And if you have any experience with age discrimination during the application process or indeed on the job, drop me a comment. I'd love to hear some of your stories and maybe I can expand on them a little bit further. But thanks for watching. And until the next video, best of luck with your applications and take care of yourself.